My name's Stuart, and I'm a humanist. I came into humanism about 20 years ago or so. And like most humanists, once you've discovered it, you realise you were one all your life or most of your life. You just didn't know it had a name.
Could you just explain humanism for someone who's not sort of heard of it before and what it kind of means and involves?
Yeah, basically it's for people who cannot accept religion and faith in terms of they just can't find the belief within themselves that there is a supernatural being out there, that we have a supernatural element to ourselves and so forth. But they still believe that we should lead a purposeful and moral life. One of the things that you're encouraged to do, talk about your mortality. And there is a section in Humanist UK where people have talked about it. They usually say limit yourself to 300 words and just put down all your thoughts and feelings about death and dying. And I found that hugely helpful and quite uplifting, really. Would you like me to read it?
Yeah, that'd be brilliant.
Okay.
If you're happy and comfortable to.
Yeah. I wrote it about 3 years ago, and I don't think I have changed much. Anyway, so it's called My Mortality. I have felt the keen challenge of a brilliant new dawn and the still contentment of a garden at twilight, been entranced by the kaleidoscopic life in a sparkling rock pool and embraced by the beauty of an ancient forest. I have joined the excitement of a bustling city and dreamed in the transcendent solitude of a mountain vista. I have experienced the timelessness of helpless laughter and the fulfillment of a lifetime of love. These are enough to make anyone grasp of permanence, but wishes do not change reality, and luckily so. Eternity would crush all the joy from life, as transience is essential to its value. Yes, I can imagine an immortal soul and a changed perception of reality that would transcend these human limitations, but without evidence, they can only be imaginings. I will strive to keep my curiosity and an open mind, particularly with the aspect of human nature known as spirituality, but I will not throw away my one certain chance, waiting for a mythical perfection to come. I will goad this procrastinating sloth to wring the most out of my time, and when it is done, I accept it will be the end and welcome the release of oblivion. And as for legacy, I hope that some of the lives that I have touched will be the better for it, even if just by an extra smile. I am amused to think that I will continue for a generation or two in the memories of others. The readers will sometimes ponder the author. My genes will slowly be diluted further by my grandchildren, and the molecules borrowed by my body will be shared throughout the world and beyond. Eventually, even the universe will end.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah, I was pleased.
I can imagine how uplifting that feels to have had that down.
It was all just there, waiting to come out.
Wow. Oh wow, that's so special. Thank you for sharing that with me. How does humanism affect the way that you view death and dying?
Well, the most fundamental difference, I think, from most religions and faiths is that we don't believe you have an immortal soul. And we don't believe that once your body dies and fades away, there's any mechanism for you becoming conscious again ever. So death is the end. That's it. So make the most of this life, because as far as we know, there's no convincing evidence that you'll ever get another chance at it. So that's how we look at it. It is the end. Make the most of the time you have. Now is the important time. Although I've said we don't believe there's any immortal soul, there is a legacy in the way that we will live on in the minds of others and people who've known us. When that's the only not immortality, but the carrying on part of it. The memories we leave for others, and any works we happen to do in our lifetime. Hopefully, that will continue to benefit people in some way or another.
Do you say within, like, with humanists in general, that they're open to speaking, like, about death and dying, or is it something that kind of people are a bit more,
No,
shut off about?
yeah, no, I think they're quite open to speaking about it, but like old people, when we're young, we think we're immortal, so we really think we're going to die. And perhaps there's a time in the middle of our lives when it becomes a bit frightening. You think, oh, the end's approaching rapidly. I mean, hopefully, if you've lived a full life, by the time you get old like me, you're quite come to terms with it all, and you're quite calm about it. Because I mean, if you believe that after death there's nothing, well, there's nothing to fear because you won't know about anything. I always think you're in the same state as you were before you were born. Nobody's frightened about the time before they were born, so why should you be frightened? You'll be in the same state or no state at all after you die. So there's nothing really to fear. Of course, dying itself I always like Woody Allen's comment, I'm not frightened of dying, I just don't want to be there when it happens.
Is there anything that you would want people who aren't humanist and have, like, particular religions or beliefs, or people who might not have realised that humanism is a thing, is there anything that you'd like them to know, or like
Yes.
accept, understand?
Yes. I would like them to realise that when they go and pray for a humanist when he's dying or she's dying, all you're doing is forcing that poor person to be considerate for them. And instead of spending the precious time they have left on thinking about the things they want to think about and do, they've got to think about, oh, I better not say anything because I don't want to be unkind to this chap, and it's their belief, and I don't want to be. So yeah, all I would say is just be considerate of the person, realise they may not have the same beliefs as you, and try and find out what they want beforehand. And it'll vary especially with humanists, one from another. There's probably no two exactly the same. We're all different. Just find out what the person concerned wants.
Do you mind just explaining that, sort of within humanism, once a person dies, this is just my interpretation anyway, that what happens after is down to what that person had said they'd wanted, or what the family want to do, and there's not kind of any processes to follow. It's just open for everyone to have their different ways.
Yeah, and no, that's exactly right. We don't believe there's anything to do for the person in terms of memory. So what's important is the focus should then shift to the surviving people around them, which is probably what the dying dead person cared about most, and they would like to see that focus shift. I think the important thing is to then address those around them that have had the loss and suffering the grief, and try to avoid that terrible thing that often happens with people feel uncomfortable when they have friends and so forth who they know have had a death in the family. Obviously, you don't want to go up and push it in their face and so forth, but the worst thing you can do is ignore them. And
if there's people that have watched this video and kind of really connected with humanism in general, how do is there anywhere that they can go, any groups that they can join, any kind of resources or anything that they can read to kind of teach them further? Or
there is a national organisation known as Humanist UK. You don't have to join that, but if you want to, that is the sort of recognised body for humanism. And when I joined that, I realised they did lots of things, which was good, because I always felt that, whereas the church, of course, has been around for hundreds and thousands of years, hundreds of years, thousands of years, and they do a lot in the community and so forth. And I really thought we should do that, because the thing I admire about the church and faith is they're often the centre, or they used to be at least, the centre of the community of villages and so forth. The good news is they don't have any churches, so they usually meet in pubs. But so
I'm sure that's music to many ears.
Provides a good background for it. As part of my dialogue, I belong to Cheltenham Interfaith Group, and I'd recommend that to anyone out there who wants to get out and meet others and sort of form more cohesion in the community and so forth. Interfaith group, and most towns have got them, and it's a great place to get together with people who have faith. So they're different. They're not going to be humanists and non-religious, but they allow humanists in because we get under the belief banner. Although we haven't got a faith, we have beliefs, so we can get in there. And I've made some great friends there, and there's lots of things we all do together, and it brings the community together. So it's good.